It's written in the skies, the tides are gonna change. We're turning the page, there's peace for every mind. Just seek and you will find, we're all one and the same, together in frame.
Tossed in like a castaway, what we wanted, not what we thought we wanted. Tossed in, you couldn't see it coming, what we needed, not what we thought we needed. Don't give up, don't give in. Waiting patiently from where riches flow. My heart is sure to follow. Over here, you can see much clearer. What you wanted was always only what we needed. Won't give up, won't give in. Take everything we have and let the new begin. Won't give up.
Blonde joke that I know, because this is the only
Glad y'all are here. As most of you know, our owner, Asa, has had a hip replacement, and this is normally his position. He does much better at it. But even though you could probably understand him, he's had to be on some medication. He's at home. He's resting. If he comes charging in the door tonight, you'll know his medication has kicked in. And then tomorrow he'll feel bad that he came up here. But tonight we do want to welcome you. We're so thankful that you are here at the Grinder House enjoying your food. You're going to have the opportunity to enjoy some great music from Mr. Nick. I believe this is the third time that you have been invited, and 2 things canceled you the first 2 times. And so 3 times is the charm, right? Okay, so we're glad to have Nick. Let's give Nick a warm welcome of applause and sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
It's really nice to be playing for people in person again. I've got a 6-month at home, so I've been immersed in baby life and I haven't gotten to play much, so it's really nice to be here. I've also been so immersed that I forgot my show shoes, so I'm wearing my slippers tonight. I wanted to be comfortable in the drive over. A little bit of history in this set tonight. A lot of songs from across the American roots spectrum, and artists that you probably are familiar with, some that you may be not familiar with. This first one is an homage. This is an original song to Mr. Mississippi John Hurt. It's called Mississippi John. Mississippi John, the song's still playing even when you're good and gone. Front porch picking under that southern sun. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. Play the one called Stag and Lee. Them blues ever pulled a tear out of me. Oh, that Appalachia with that Delta feel. Said you make a wordman sing like a salty dog in heat. Now, Mississippi John, song's still playing even when you're good and gone. Oh, that Appalachia with that Delta feel. Said you make a woman sing like a salty dog in heat. All right. Make me down a pallet on your floor. I'm boogie woogie king, baby, long before rock and roll. And that boy John Henry, he's a hard working soul. Ooh, said that hammer in hand when he died and passed on. Oh, now Mississippi John, a song still playing even when you're good and gone. With that front porch picking under that southern sun. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. Alright. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine, and For those of you that don't know about Mississippi John Hurt, he's a lot of blues players from the turn of the century that were making music in the early 1920s, 1930s, even before that. A lot of their music didn't become popular until the 60s and 70s, mainly 50s, 60s, 70s, during the folk and blues revival. And Mississippi John Hurt was one of those people. He recorded 2 songs kind of by chance. One of the fiddle players that he worked with won a competition and got a chance to record for OK Records. And that was right before the Great Depression, and OK Records decided that it wasn't going to be a commercialized record, and they actually went out of business for a little while. And so Mississippi John Hurt just went back to his sharecropping for another 35 years. And then randomly one day, this white guy knocked on his door and said, hey, there's a bunch of people that love your music. Come play all these festivals, like Newport Folk Festival. He went and played Carnegie Hall. He played on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. And he toured for about 3 years, and then he passed away. And you could say that he influenced a lot of different musicians. He's kind of considered the gateway for folks that are maybe timid about understanding different forms of blues. And that's not Delta blues. There's many different forms of blues, and we'll talk about that tonight. But anywho, that's an homage to him. Through this, I can't help but mention this pandemic, but one of the bright sides of it has been that I got to spend the entire pregnancy with my wife and the birth and the first 6 months of my son's life. And then I also had a chance to find a different career path, which ended up becoming a podcast host. And so I started a music history podcast last summer that is doing wonderfully now. For anybody that likes music history or podcasts, if you look up American Songcatcher, I'll probably say it a few times. It's probably wherever you listen to your podcasts. You'll find about 8 episodes of each episode is 5 songs, 1 traditional song, and then 4 musicians and songs that have kind of held the torch for traditional music or where American music comes from. One of those people was Norman Blake. Norman Blake was an incredible guitarist. He still is. Him and his wife Nancy are kind of considered the purveyors of American folk music. And I currently live in Rising Fawn, Georgia, which is where he also resides, hoping to cross paths with him at an Ingles or something like that. Hasn't happened yet. So I'd be remiss if I didn't play one of his tunes. This one's called Ginseng Sullivan. About 3 miles from the backyard, from the river's curl on down, not far south from the town depot, Sullivan's shack was found, back on the higher ground. You could see him every day just walking on down that line. No brown sack across his back, long hair down behind, speaking his worried mind. It's a long way to the Delta from the North Georgia hills, and a tote sack full of ginseng won't pay no traveling bills. But I'm too old to ride the rails, I thumb the road alone. So I guess I'll never make it back to home, to my muddy water Mississippi Delta home. Well, the winters here, they get too cold, and the damp makes me feel ill. Can't dig no roots in the mountainside when the ground feels hard and still. Gotta stay at the foot of the hill. Yeah, but next summer when things do right, the companies will pay high. I'll make enough money to pay my bills, bid these mountains goodbye. And then he said with a sigh, yeah, it's a long way to the Delta from the North Georgia hills, and a
sold sack full of ginseng, paid no traveling bills. Yeah, but I'm too old to ride the wheels, I thumb the road alone. So I guess I'll never make it back to home, to my muddy water Mississippi Delta home. My muddy water Mississippi Delta home. My muddy water Mississippi Delta home. Thank you so much. We'll be playing a load of traditional tunes tonight, and this next one is a tune about a bank robber, as well as a train robber. His name was Railroad Bill. And the first time I heard this song was Etta Baker version. Etta Baker was one of the famous Piedmont blues pickers from the Piedmont area of North Carolina, excuse me. And she didn't sing much, but her songs inspired many, many guitarists over several generations and continues to today. And then I heard a few other versions of this tune that had lyrics, and I became kind of fascinated by the different versions, like Ramblin' Jack Elliott's version, and a fellow named Colter Wall, who's a more recent musician, and decided to do kind of a mishmash of different lyrics and put them together. So this one's called Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, a mighty bad man, shot that lantern from the brakeman's hand. Honey, it's right. Railroad Bill went out west, shot of them buttons off a brakeman's vest. Well, it's right. Left Jacksonville about 1:30. Got to Chattanooga at the setting of the sun. Well, I'm gonna ride. Railroad Bill lived on a hill. He wouldn't work, Lord, and he never will. Oh, well, it's right. Baby, darling, when you needn't fret, I ain't a fool, Lord, at least not yet. Well, I'm gonna ride. Going up that mountain, I'm taking my stand. Silver dagger in my right and left hand. I'm gonna ride. Railroad Bill, he took my wife. Didn't take much, she didn't say goodbye. So I'm gonna ride. If the river was brandy, yeah, and I was a duck, I'd sink to the bottom and I'd never come up. I'm gonna ride. Railroad Bill ought to be killed. He's stealing pie off a windowsill, and it's right. So the Piedmont blues of North Carolina is famous for a specific type of blues, which is a syncopated rhythm, which is kind of like.
there's that form of it. And then they add a second layer of melody. And folks like Elizabeth Cotton, Etta Baker, even some forms of the songs that Mississippi John Hurt played were similar, if not the exact same as Piedmont Blues. And there's also a few other players that kind of, it's a form of ragtime that got changed slightly to be a little bit slowed down, you could say. That's the easiest way to do it. But it's one of my favorite styles of guitar to play. And there's another musician who does a similar version, but he kind of took ragtime, Piedmont blues, and jazz and threw them all together, and his name was Merle Travis. And he's famous from West Virginia, as coming from a coal family, whose family was owned by a coal company, you could say. And I thought that he wrote this song for the longest time, but it turns out that it's an old tune from the 1920s, and it's called 9-Pound Hammer. And there's also bluegrass versions of this tune, famous by Tony Rice and some other fellas like that. It's a 9-Pound Hammer. This 9-pound hammer, that's a little too heavy for my size, yeah, buddy, for my size. Hold on, buddy, oh, don't you roll too slow. How can I roll when the wheels won't go? When I'm going up the mountain, I'm gonna see my honey. I ain't coming back, oh no, I ain't coming back. Hold on, buddy, yeah, don't you roll too slow. How can I roll when the wheels won't go? Long way to Holland, it's a long way to Hazard. To get a little brew, babe, now to get a little brew. Hold on, buddy, but you roll too slow. How can I roll when the wheels won't go? When I'm long gone, you can beg my tombstone at a number 9 cold, babe, at a number 9 cold. Hold on, buddy, don't you roll too slow. How can I roll when the wheels won't go? How can I roll when the wheels won't go? How can I roll when the wheels, they just won't go? Merle was a heck of a picker. But I try to do my best to emulate him as much as I can sometimes. All right. I'm going to play you a couple old songs. And by old, I mean several hundred years old. They come from the British Isles. And this particular song comes from Aberdeenshire, Scotland. One, folks. And a lot of the folk music, bluegrass music, early country, old time, all of that came from immigrants in the 16th century, 17th century, and 18th century. And a lot of them moved into the Appalachian Mountain Range and kind of filtered through there, and then they mixed all these different styles together. These are Scotch-Irish, these are folks from England, these are folks from other places as well, and there's a lot of African-American influence as well. So all these styles kind of fused together, and then everybody kind of started spreading out from there, going westward slowly. And so you have these particular regions that are specific to different styles, but the overall arching theme of American roots music comes from immigrants, which is something that I love to point out to people in case they don't know that. In this particular song, and there's a lot of songs that are still alive, and kind of you could trace them directly back to when they were printed on broadside sheets that were distributed among people, and the lyrics haven't changed much. And this is one of those songs, and it used to be called Bonnie Lass O'Fivey, and then it got changed to Peggy, there's several different names, Bonnie Barbara, when it got to England, then it got to Ireland, and then when it came to America. And the first time it popped up in America was in the early 60s, I believe, on Bob Dylan's first album. And then all these other folk artists started recording the song. And it's been recorded in several different genres. And it's a story about a woman who falls in love with an enemy soldier, and her mother forbids her to wed him. And so he threatens to burn down the town. But then he dies, so it doesn't matter. It's called Peggy-O.
We rode out to Fenario. As we rode out to Fenario, the captain fell in love with a lady like a dove, and he called her by her name, Pretty Peggy-O. Will you marry me, Pretty Peggy-O? Will you marry me, Pretty Peggy-O? Will you marry me? I'll set your cities free. I'll free all the ladies in the area. I would marry you, sweet William O. I would marry you, sweet William O. Yeah, well, I would marry you, but your guineas are too few, and I fear that my mom would be angry, oh. What would your mama think, Pretty Peggy, oh? What would your mama think, Pretty Peggy, oh? Yeah, now, what would your mama think if she heard my guineas clink? She saw me march at the head of my soldiers. If I ever return, Pretty Peggy-O, if I ever return, Pretty Peggy-O, if I ever return, these cities I will burn, destroy all the ladies in the area. Come stepping down the stairs, Pretty Peggy-O. Come stepping down those stairs, Pretty Peggy-O. Come stepping down those stairs, combing back your yellow hair. Bid a last farewell to you, William O. Sweet William, he is dead, Pretty Peggy-O. Sweet William, he is dead, Pretty Peggy-O. Sweet William, he is dead. He died for a maid. Now he's buried in Louisiana country. Oh. As we rode out to Venerio, as we rode out to Venerio, the captain fell in love with a lady like a dove. And he called her by her name, Pretty Peggy. Oh, oh.
So a lot of these songs are in the podcast for those of you that are interested in listening. Again, it's American Songcatcher. And it's strange how new creative passions can become careers. And with touring, as I usually do, now uncertain as far as the amount of shows that I can play to support my family, this has now become my main thing. So I urge you, if you like podcasts, to go ahead and subscribe. Okay, that'll be the last time for a little while that I talk about that. Now, this is an old blues tune. I'm not quite sure where this one comes from. I haven't researched it at all, but I've heard it so many different versions, and I just decided to create my own version of it. So it's a little bit in a Piedmont blues style, but sung in a little bit differently. It's called The Trouble in Mind.
Trouble in mind, yeah, I'm blue, but I won't be blue always, 'cause the sun all's gonna shine in my back door someday. I'm gonna lay in my head on some lonesome railroad line. Let the 219 gonna ease my worried mind. Trouble in mind, yeah, now I'm blue, yeah, but I won't be blue always, 'cause the sun all's gonna shine in my back door someday. Going down to that river, gonna buy me a rocket chair. And if the blues don't leave me, I'm gonna rock away from here. Trouble in mind, yeah, I'm blue, but I won't be blue always, 'cause that sun is gonna shine in my back door someday. In my back door someday, my back door someday.
Thank you so much, folks. All right, I'm going to play another original tune. This is relatively new, and I'm not really in the mode of writing songs, even during a pandemic. I started to write a few songs, and every other musician that I knew was writing songs about being inside or being depressed or wishing other things were different. And so I stopped in that format. I just decided that was not going to be the way I wanted to do things. And I've also recently, since I started the podcast, decided that preservation is more important to me than putting out new material. There's so much good music out there that needs to keep being syndicated and put in front of people, especially new generations, so that they can carry it on to the next generation after them. So a big part of the mission is to preserve songs and different styles and talk about them, which is a heck of an intro for an original song, isn't it? Lordy, didn't think that went through. I guess this is an exception, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this tune just yet. I am going to release a record of traditional songs later this year, and I might include this one. I'm not sure yet, but it's called Bomber Jacket. And on a very serious note, it's about a couple things, mainly involving my grandfather, who was shot and killed by my uncle, which is kind of a story I don't talk about very often. And I wrote this song as kind of a first step to a healing process. And I put it out there in the world, first on the internet, which I thought was a great idea. But this tune has now become kind of a sacred thing that I play. It's called Bomber Jacket because I used to go in his closet and he had a massive bomber jacket from the Korean War. And I used to put it on, and he was my first big advocate to play music. He got me my first microphone, was really supportive from the start. So this one's called Bomber Jacket.
Well, that flag shows its stripes. When there's a good wind blowing, the stars, they dance like a kite. My grandpa had some stories about his bomber jacket, but I know those patches didn't say all that there was to say. I'm not clear on what's wrong and what's right, but I know freedom's a right. So why do we aim our sights on strangers' lives without second guessing why? Now which of these points are lies? A smoke and mirrors, just a line of sight. Is there truth underneath what we see? All these wars we fought, all these wars we fought, all of these wars we fought. That jacket is a souvenir to a teenage boy who isn't old enough to know his fears. It's making the rounds again, just like an old trend, with that look of a soldier at ease, bending in the breeze, all without knowing just how it came to be. So I'm not clear on what's wrong and what's right, but I know freedom's a right. So why do we aim our sights on strangers' lives without second guessing why? So which of these points are lies? A smoke and mirrors, just a line of sight. Is there truth underneath what we see? And all these wars we fought, all of these wars we fought, all of these wars we fought.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Cotten, and she's got a very similar story to Mississippi John Hurt in that while she was creating music from a very young age, she wasn't discovered until the 60s, but she has a bit of a twist in her story. She had a daughter, and she ended up following her daughter to Washington, D.C., and she found a job working in a department store, and there was a little girl running around looking for her mom. And so Elizabeth went and found her and said, hey, you know, who are you looking for? And she said, it was my mom. You know, I'm looking for my mom. And it turns out that little girl was Peggy Seeger, whose parents are Charles Seeger, the famous musicologist. Her half-brother was Pete Seeger. And they decided to hire her because of her kindness. And so she became their housemaid. Granted, the whole time that she was the housekeeper, they had no idea that she was a musician, that she could play music. But while they were gone, she would pick off the gut string guitar that was on the wall. And one day, Peggy came home and saw Elizabeth playing with it. And Elizabeth was really apologetic, saying, I'm so sorry. And Peggy was like, what is going on? How do you know how to play the guitar so well? And it turns out that Elizabeth had relearned everything that she, from the North Carolina when she was growing up. The first song she wrote was when she was 10, and she learned from her father. And so she relearned and retaught herself how to play a bunch of old Piedmont blues songs. And when they discovered how talented she was in her 60s. And Mike Seeger, who's Peggy's brother, ended up recording her and got her concerts in front of then Senator John F. Kennedy's house and all these prominent politicians and well-to-do people in the Library of Congress and whatnot. And she ended up winning a Grammy when she was 90 years old. And I just love her music. And if you're not familiar with Elizabeth Cotten, if you've heard the song Freight Train, that is her song. That's that song. I'm not going to play that song right now, though. I might play it later. Who knows? But this is a song that she wrote when she was, it was in the 70s, and she was starting to just become a little bit well-known, and she wrote it with her grandchildren. She asked them all to go, when they were going to bed at night, to think on verses and take this chorus, which is Shake Sugaree, and which is an old saying in North Carolina. If you were having a good time, you would throw sugar on the floor and you would dance around because the sugar would create a percussive sound when you danced on it. So this song is called Shake Sugaree. Long intro, I know, sorry. Have a little song, won't take long. Sing it right, once or twice. Oh Lord, and me didn't I shake the sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my watch, pawn my chain, pawn everything was in my name. Oh Lord, and me didn't I shake the sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. My bucket, horse and cart, upon everything that was on my lot. Oh Lord, and me didn't I shake the sugaree? And now everything I got is done in pawn.
upon my chair, upon my bed. I ain't got nowhere to lay my head. Oh, Lord, and me did not shake the sugaree. Everything I got is done in pawn. Why don't you pick one? Pawn my tobacco, pawn my pipe, pawn everything that was in my sight. Oh, Lord, and me did not shake sugaree. Everything that I got is done in pawn. Pawn my farm, pawn my plow, pawn everything, even my cow. Oh, Lord, and me did not shake the sugaree. Well, now everything that I got is done in pawn. Yeah, now everything that I got is done in pawn. Well, now everything I got is done in pawn. Oh, it is done in pawn.
Thank you so much. Are you enjoying yourselves so far? Do you mind the talking beforehand? I hope not. I'm going to do it anyways, but no offense. All right. This is most definitely the oldest song that I'll be playing. This is a 400-year-old ballad that comes from Scotland yet again. A lot of ballads that have lasted this long come from Scotland, and I don't know why that is, but we're Ireland, of course, but the more popular ones in America, of course, have come from Scotland. And this tune was first documented in a man named Samuel Pepys, who is a famous Englishman, only because of his diary. He kept a very meticulous diary in the 1600s, and he managed to capture the emotion of the Great Famine, the Great Fires of London, and all these events that historians just kind of chomped at the bit to understand really what the times were like. He was an upper middle class man, but he went and saw a concert of one of his mistresses, who was a professional singer and actress, and she sang this song called this one's called, what is this one called? Oh my God, what am I doing up here? Barbara Allen, good Lord. It's only been called a couple different names. This is unique in old ballads, especially when that's 400 years old. A lot of times they get changed over and over again, different names, different lyrics, different styles. This song has relatively stayed the same, and nobody really is sure why, and it's potentially because it was so popular. And it kind of made its way throughout the British Isles and then over to Western Europe. And some famous composers did their own versions of it. And the song collectors, who are folks that decided to go around in the late 1800s and the early 1900s and go to rural Appalachia and figure out if there was traces back to England or to Scotland and these other places. And they ended up recording this song about 400 times, which is kind of astonishing. So it's by far and away the most collected song from the British Isles and the most collected ballad. And it's called Barbara Allen. And again, I'm going to kind of do a mishmash of Burl Ives' version and Pete Seeger's version.
'Twas in the merry month of May, the flowers were blooming. Sweet William on his deathbed lay, for the love of Barbary Allen. So he sent his servant to the town, to the place where she was dwelling, saying, you must come to my master dear, if your name be Barbary Allen. So slowly, slowly she got up, slowly came beside him, and all she said when she got there, young man, I think you're dying. So he turned his face unto the wall, and on his deathbed was calling, goodbye, goodbye to my friends and all, be good to Barbary Allen. So when he died and laid in the grave, she heard those death bells calling, and every stroke to her did say, why, oh why, Barbary Allen? Oh mother, mother, dig my grave, make it long and narrow. Sweet William died of love for me, I will die of sorrow. He was buried in the old churchyard, and soon she was laying beside him. And above sweet William there grew a rose, and out of hers a briar. They grew in the old churchyard, till they could grow no higher. And then they formed a true lover's knot, the rose around the briar.
The song is interesting, especially because what happens is he's been in love with her and she's aware that he's in love with her. And thank you, sir. And at a tavern, he decides to give a toast to a group of women with some friends. And she considers that a slight against her, and therefore will not consider him on his deathbed saying, will you please tend to me, I love you. She says, no, sorry, I saw you do that toast that one time. It's not going to happen. And then on the way home, she hears death bells in her head, and she goes, oh, I made a grave mistake. And she's so overcome with grief that she dies a few days later. And then they decided over a couple hundred years to soften the story a little bit. So they said that they were buried side by side in an old churchyard, and that a rose grew above his grave and a briar grew above hers, and then they kind of intermingled and formed a lover's knot, which is not how the original story goes, but it's a sweet sentiment, I think. All right. This is an old train song, bluegrass tune. I'm going to do a Norman Blake and Tony Rice version of this tune. And it's also an old river song, so it's kind of got a couple different hybrids there, but it was made famous in Virginia, and it's kind of considered a Blue Ridge Mountain old-time tune. It's called New River Train.
Riding on that New River train, riding on that New River train, same old train that brought me here will take me back again. Darling, you can't love one, darling, you can't love one, you can't love one and have any fun, no, darling, you can't love one. riding on that New River train, riding on that New River train. Same old train that brought me here will take me back again. Darling, you can't love till, darling, you can't love till, can't love till, let your little heart be true. No, darling, can't love till. Riding on that New River train, riding on that New River train. Same old train that brought me here will take me back again. Darling, you can't love one, darling, you can't love one, can't love one and have any fun. No, darling, you can't love one. Riding on that New River train, riding on that New River train. The same old train that brought me here will take me back again. Thank you so much, folks. All right. So that first original tune that I played on the top of this set, Mississippi John, is on this record, as is this tune. This is a murder ballad. This one's called The Eve of Fog. And I was trying to think of a situation that might be interesting to a murder ballad. I started off pretty cliche, so I'm in this song. I'm a rounder, and I'm gambling, of course, and I lose a bunch of money to a man. But then I found out that the man actually cheated, and then I found out that not only did he cheat, but he's also taken my woman. So I'm 3 miles away from killing this man. It's called The Eve of Fog. 3 long miles, that was all I had to go. Before the sun took a rest a while, and the dusk was laid in gold. An eve of fog and silence along the forest floor, nor the heat from my rifle was begging to fire once more. Lord, if it wasn't for my lady playing a part, I'd have gave that man another day, get a head start. But they pushed it on too far, taking my money, tearing my name apart. Two long miles, that was all I had to go. Before the stars show their eyes, those burning suns judging my soul. But a gambler has his trials, losing a crooked man. But when greed makes a liar all the coin, it doesn't matter then. Whenever it wasn't for my lady playing a part, I done gave that man another day to get a head start, but they pushed it off too far, taking my money, tearing my name apart. Less than a mile, that was all I had to go. When the crack of a gun was fired, I lay down cold. Hanging over me, 'twas the love of my own. My own, yeah, and it wasn't for my lady I'm playing a part. I done gave that man another day to get a head start, but they pushed it all too far, taking my money, tearing my name apart.
Thank you. So as you can see, I was killed by my woman, if you couldn't tell at the end there. So it's a murder ballad, but I'm the one that gets murdered. I thought that was a fun trick at the end. Lordy.
Freight train, oh you run so fast. Freight train, oh you run so fast. Please don't tell what train that I'm on, 'cause they won't know which route that I've gone. When I'm dead and I'm in my grave, no more good times here I crave. Place those stones in my head and my feet, tell them all that I've gone to sleep. When I'm dead and I'm in my grave, no more good times here I crave. I can hear that old engine number 9 as she rolls on by. When I'm dead, won't you bury me deep down at the end of Old Chestnut Street? Place those stones in my head and my feet, tell them all that I've gone to sleep. Freight train, oh you run so fast. Freight train, oh you run so fast. Please don't tell what train that I'm on, they won't know which route that I've gone. They won't know which route that I've gone. They won't know which route that I've gone.
This is the train pulling out of the station. Don't you love that last note? Oh, that one hurts. Thank you, folks. That's a tune called Doc's Guitar, an attempt at that, I should say. That's a Doc Watson tune that I've become quite fond of, but I can never get white. So, okay. How we doing? Feeling okay? We've only got an hour left. All right. This next tune is, it originated as a children's song that was sung throughout the South. And there's a poet named Bob Kaufman who was really popular in the 60s, particularly in the Greenwich Village folk scene. And back then, at the folk clubs, they'd actually have the Beat Poets headline for a lot of the shows. And one time at one of his shows, Bob spoke this song. He actually sang it, but he's tone deaf, so he more of spoke it, to two people, Dave Von Ronk and Lynn Chandler. And both those men created different versions of this song. But Dave Von Ronk's was undoubtedly the most popular version and has lasted. It lasted his entire life while he was playing and was one of the most consistently requested songs in his repertoire. It's called Green, Green Rocky Road. When I go by Baltimore, ain't no carpet on my floor. Grab your coat, what you'll find on me. I know a man in Galilee. He's hollering green, green, rocky road. You promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. See that crow up in that sky? He don't walk, no, he just fly. He don't walk, no, he don't run. He keep flapping to the sun. And he's hollering green, green, rocky road. You promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Yeah, I want you hollering out green, green, rocky road. Promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love.
Little Miss Jane, you running to the wall. Don't you stumble, don't you fall. Don't you think, no, don't you shout. When I sing, come running out. Yeah, now holler now, green, green, rocky road. Oh, you're promenading green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Yeah, I want you holler now, green, green, rocky road. Well, you're promenading green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Wooka-tooka, soda cracker. Does your mama chew tobacco? If your mama chews tobacco, wooka-tooka, wooka-tooka, soda cracker. That's the children's part. Yeah, I want you holler now, green, green, rocky road. Road and promenading green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Yeah, now holler now, green, green, rocky road. You're promenading green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Oh, Lord. My Jimmy rig setup up here is falling apart at the seams, but thank you so much. All right, here's another Norman Blake tune, excuse me. This one's called Church Street Blues. And he wrote this tune when he was living in Nashville for a stint. He spent most of his life just outside of Chattanooga in Rising Fawn, Georgia, like I said. And if you don't know who Norman Blake is, he's probably one of the most decorated guitarists in this country's history. He's played with everybody. He's run several Grammys. He was Johnny Cash's band guitar leader. He's done projects with Bill Monroe, Doc Watson, Tony Rice, you name it, in the American roots spectrum. He's played with them. And he's also got a beautiful voice and is a huge upholder of old-time music and bluegrass tunes and folk tunes especially. But then Tony Rice took this tune and he made it slightly more bluegrass and a little bit more upbeat, but it's called Church Street Blues. But I've been hanging out of town in that low-down rain, watching Good Time Charlie Friend just driving me insane. Up on shady Charlotte Street, all the green lights looking red. Wish I was back home on the farm, Lordy, in my feather bed. And I got myself a rocking chair to see if I couldn't lose them thin dime hard times selling Church Street Blues. Found myself a bigger friend, read yesterday's news, folding up page 21, stuck it in my shoes, giving a go to the poor, my good turn for the day. Folded up my little fold and I threw it far away. Still I got myself a rocking chair to see if I couldn't lose them thin dime hard times selling Church Street Blues. Wish I had some guitar strings, old black diamond brand. I string up this old Gibson box and go and join some band. I guess I'll just stay right here, just pick and sing a while. Try to make me a little change, give them folks a smile. And I got myself a rocking chair to see if I could lose them thin dime hard times out on Church Street blues. Found myself a rocking chair to see if I couldn't lose them thin dime hard times out on Church Street blues. Thank you, folks. All right. We're going to take a trip back over to the United Kingdom for a second. And I'm going to attempt this song. I've only done it correct a couple times, but, I figured why not? You guys seem like such nice people and the non-judgmental type. This is by a man named Richard Thompson. And this is a beautiful tale of a motorcycle and a red-headed girl called the 1952 Vincent. I actually didn't find out until recently that he was the guitarist for Fairport Convention. But he's also a fantastic songwriter and is all right, as you'll hear now. Says man Molly to James, that's a fine motorbike. A girl could feel special on any such life. Says James to Red Molly, my hat goes off to you. That's a Vincent Black Lightning 1952. I've seen you on the corners and cafes, it seems. Red hair and black leather are my favorite color scheme. Yeah, then he pulled her on behind down to Knoxville. They were right. Says James to Red Molly, here's a ring for your right hand. I'll tell you in a minute that I'm a dangerous man. For I thought, yeah, I went along since I was 17. I've robbed many men to get my Vincent machine. Now I'm 21 years and I might make 22, but I don't mind dying for the love of you. But in fate you break my stride and give you my Vincent to write. calm down, red money, caught Sergeant McQuaid. They've taken young James 80 for armed robbery. Shotgun blast, it hit his chest, left nothing inside. Come down, Red Molly, to his dying bedside. She came to the hospital, there wasn't much left. He was running out of road, he was running out of breath. But he smiled to see you cry, and gave her his Vincent to write. Says James, in my opinion, there's nothing in this world beats a 52 Vincent and a red-headed girl. Now New Orleans old Indians, a young grievous just won't do. And they don't have a soul like a Vincent 52. When he reached for a hand and he slipped to the keys, said, I've got no further use for these. I see angels on aerials, leather and chrome, swooping down from heaven to carry me home. And then he gave her one last kiss and he died. And he gave her his Vincent to write.
That was the time I didn't mess it up. That's so great. All right, just give me a second to tune back here, folks. You know, in all the years that I've been playing, I still haven't developed any jokes for these situations, so if you need a topic, I can give you a topic maybe if you want to talk about something, but no, it's not going to take that long. All right.
Make me down and potty on your floor. Make me down and potty on your floor. Make me down, potty soft and low. Make me down and potty on your floor. And up to the country where the cold sleet and snow. And up to the country where the cold sleet and snow. I'm going up to the country on the cold sleet and snow. There ain't no telling just how far that I might go. Make me down, potty on your floor. Make me down, potty on your floor. Baby, make me down, hot and soft and low. Make me down and pound it on your floor. Don't you let my good girl catch you here. Don't you let my good girl catch you here. She might shoot you, cut you down and stomp you too. Ain't no telling just what she might do. Oh, now make me down, patty on your floor. Make me down and patty on your floor. Make me down, patty soft and low. Make me down and patty on your floor. The way I'm sleeping makes my back and my shoulders tight. The way I'm sleeping makes my back and my shoulders tight. The way I'm sleeping, my back and my shoulders tight. I guess tonight I might try that other side. Oh, now make me down and patty on your floor. Make me down and patty on your floor. Make me down, patty soft and low. Make me down and patty on your floor. Make me down and patty on your floor. Make me down and patty on your floor. All right.
This is an old Carter family tune. It's actually not their song, but A.P. Carter was kind of famous for going around collecting songs and then copywriting them before anybody else could. And a lot of people don't know that, but the Carter family didn't write a lot of their own songs. What they did was rearrange them and make them their own. There was a fellow named Leslie Riddle that would go around with A.P., and they spent a lot of time going to different churches throughout Appalachia and in between North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and collecting songs and then turning them into their own. But I'm not sure where AP heard this tune, but it's an old parlor song. And parlor songs are kind of a funny thing. They were upper middle class folks who would hire kind of mediocre musicians to play house parties for them as entertainment. And I'm not sure exactly how that works, if they were just kind of laughed at, that sort of thing. But this is a song that they used to sing, and then and that was based off of a poem, and A.P. Carter turned it into a song. And it is probably the most widely played guitar song out there for anybody that's in folk, bluegrass, country music. It's called Wildwood Flower.
Oh, what's fine with my mingles and raven black hair, with the roses so red and the lilies so fair, and the myrtle so bright with its emerald hue, pale and bonita and the hyssop so blue. I will dance, I will sing, and my life shall be gay. I will charm every heart, in the crown I will sway. When I walk from my dream, and my idols were clay, my portions of loving had all flown away. Yes, she taught me to love her and promised to love and to cherish me over all others above. I'm my poor heart is wondering, no misery can't tell. She's left me no warning, no words of farewell. Yes, she taught me to love her and call me her flower. That was blooming to cheer her through life's cheery hour. How I long to see her and regret the dark hour. She's gone, she's neglected this pale wild flower. Sure.
Do you need anything?
I got everything I need right here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
We want to take a minute and introduce our staff to you tonight. If we can get the staff to line up. Again, we're thankful that each of you are here. Please keep in mind Asa and Angela. Angela for having to take care of Asa. And Asa for enduring Angela's care. And the rest of us, because we really wouldn't be here without them. They are two of the most awesome people that I have ever worked for. They care about the staff. They care about you. They want to be sure we have quality food, quality environment. And I hope that you can tell that. So first of all, let's give yourselves a hand for being here. We appreciate you very much. In the front of the house, we have Miss Linda, who is our front of the house manager. Miss Linda, would you say hi? And then we have Miss Haley, who is our shift lead for the front of the house. Thank you, Haley. Then we have Corey, who is our barista tonight, a server. We have Miss Carrie in the front of the house. Thank you. Miss Katie, I'm sorry. Miss Katie. Thank you, Miss Katie. Okay, and then we have Miss Shelby Graham. Thank you, Shelby. And then there's Miss Dawn. And before we get through introducing all of the front of the house staff, we have two that you don't see that is down at our station because our station is doing online orders and our drive-through coffee, and that is Miss Elsie down at the station tonight and Sam Avalos down at the station. Let's give them a hand. Thank you, guys. Now, if our kitchen would come out, those that we have left back there, we actually have our two line cooks that are doubling as line cooks and dishwashers and doing everything because they said everybody else can go home. We're that good. So we want to welcome Trey. Trey's with us. So this is your second week, isn't it, Trey? Doing an awesome job. Thank you, Trey. And then we want to welcome Miss Andy, doing an awesome job cooking. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for what you do. Now, you have about 500 more songs.
I do.
Okay. You can't do all of them now.
I have a half an hour to do that, yeah? Half an hour's worth?
Half an hour. Have you said something about your shirts and things?
I have not. All of the proceeds to this merchandise go to diapers. So there's T-shirts for $20. There's a tank top for $20. There's also a darker T-shirt that's not up here. And there's vinyl here, which is quite pretty. And I've got CDs and stickers that are free with every purchase.
Okay. And we actually have an online individual that's double X shirt. Got one of those shirts.
I do. I do.
All right. And she's also giving you a tip.
Oh, wonderful.
We appreciate him, don't we? Yeah. Doing us a good job. Thank you, Nick.
My
Continue
pleasure.
on. Thank you.
So back to Mississippi John Hurt.
towards the end of his 3 years that he did end up touring after being rediscovered, he went on to a program called the Rainbow Quest, which was a program put on by Pete Seeger over in New Jersey. And it was independently run. It was one season. And he would bring out a lot of rural musicians and folks that were not mainstream, that the public eye didn't see yet. And if you didn't know, that Pete Seeger was instrumental in starting the Newport Folk Festival, which was also a huge catalyst during the 60s and 70s folk revolution to bring these artists to the stage. And this is one of the songs that Mississippi John Hurt first recorded in the 1920s that ended up getting pressed because of the Great Depression. But it's been covered in several different genres, and it's about the great folk mythical figure, Mr. John Henry, who was working on the steam railroad. And the legend has it that he was so powerful and so strong, they would drive these spikes into the sides of the mountains so that they could blow holes for the railroad and create tunnels. And he was faster than any other man, and so they put a steam-powered machine up next to him. And John Henry ended up winning, but he died from heart failure with the hammer in his hand. So this one's called Spike Driver Blues. This is about John Henry.
Well, John Henry was a steel driving boy, but he went down, oh, he went down. And I take my hammer, won't you carry it to my captain, and tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. Oh, tell him I'm gone. Oh. This old hammer done killed John Henry, but it won't kill me. It's gonna kill me. Sean gonna kill me. It's a long, long way from East Colorado. Yeah, baby, to my home. To my home. To my home. Oh. John Henry, he done lived, and that hammer, it was all shining in red, shining in red. On John Henry's day, yeah. Oh, he's dead. Won't you take my hammer, carry it to my captain? Tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. Or tell him I'm gone. Oh.
This is an old North Carolina murder story. It involves a man named Tom Dooley and a woman named Laura Foster. And legend has that Tom and Laura ended up having a relationship for a while. But Tom was quite promiscuous, as was Laura. And two of Laura's cousins ended up moving into town and working in a local area. And Tom ended up having relations with those women. And one of them brought syphilis. And so the whole gang got syphilis eventually. And Tom was sure that Laura Foster gave him syphilis. So Tom killed Laura Foster. Now, there's all sorts of mysteries behind this. Did he really kill her? Did one of his other mistresses kill her? Did a jealous other man end up killing her? There's all these parts of the folklore that aren't, fully formed yet, but it's a great song. It's called Tom Dooley, and I'm going to do Doc Watson's version or something close to it.
Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You kid from Lauren Foster, poor boy, you bound to die. Left him by the roadside when he begged to be excused. Left him by the roadside and hid her clothes and shoes. Took her on the hillside and make her your wife. Took her on the hillside and then you took her life. Dug the grave 4 feet long and dug it 3 feet deep. Poured the cold clay over her, you chomped it with your feet. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. Kid from Lauren Foster, you know you're bound to die. Trouble, oh, it's trouble run through my breast. As long as I'm living, boys, ain't gonna let me rest. You know they're gonna hang me tomorrow, I'll be dead. I never even harmed a hair on poor Laurie's head. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. Kid from Lauren Foster, you know you're bound to die. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You kid from Lauren Foster, but boy, you're bound to die.
That was about twice as fast as I usually play it. I don't know what just happened there. Oh, I know. It's coffee. In the water. It's all right. This rug isn't important, right? I'm sure it's fine. There's probably worse things that have been spilled on this rug. All right. It's an old standard, and it was first recorded in the 1920s, and the author is unknown, but it was made famous by a man named Louis Prima. But I first heard it from a fellow who's kind of recent. His name is Blind Boy Paxton. He's only legally blind. He's not actually blind. But if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. He's kind of a songster in that he plays several different instruments. He's fluent in piano, guitar, harmonica, banjo, accordion, bones. He can play kind of whatever. And he's one of the only people that will transport you to a completely different time. So I heard him do this song and had to learn his version. It's called I Ain't Got Nobody.
There's been a saying that's going around, and I begin to think it's true. It's awful hard when you love someone and they don't really care about you. Once I had a loving gal, the sweetest little thing in town. Now she's gone and she left me, she done turned me down. Now I ain't got nobody, oh no one really cares for me. That's why I'm so sad and lonely. Holy, yeah, won't somebody come take a chance on me? Well, I sing in love songs, honey, all the time. And if you'd only say, would you be that sweet gal of mine? Oh, now I ain't got nobody, oh, not no one really cares for me. That's why I'm so sad and lonely. Only when I want somebody come to take a chance on me. So much. All right. I'll do a little medley here. And the first tune is an instrumental piece that was made famous by a man you might have heard of named Chet Atkins. Now, he didn't write this song. There was a man whose last name is Loudermilk, and I can't remember his first name. He actually wrote this tune. But he's about half as good a guitarist as Chet is, and Chet took it to an entirely different direction, and as did Doc Watson. So I'll do a little bit of a kind of a mix of those two, and then I'm going to take that into an old tune that came from England in the 1700s that I'm sure you've heard of.
That's about all I'll tell you, though. This first one's called Windy and Warm.
Down in New Orleans, they call the rising sun. It's been a ruin, many poor boys on me. Oh God, I'm one. My mother worked for a tailorman. Well, she sewed on my new blue jeans. And my daddy was, he was a gambling man, way down and on New Orleans. Now the only thing that a gambler needs was a suitcase or a trunk. And the only time he's ever satisfied on his when he's all drunk. Mother, run, go tell your children not to do the awful things that I've done. Spend your life in sin, sweet misery, in the house of the rising sun. foot on the platform, the other foot it's on the train. Said I'm going back to old New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. There's a house down in New Orleans that they call the Rising Sun. Oh, it's been the ruin, many poor boys on me. Oh God, I'm on me. Oh God, I'm over me. Oh God, I'm one. This is awkward. Well, y'all have been a treat. Appreciate you humoring me and allowing me to, well, not judging me for forgetting my show shoes and wearing my slippers, for number one. Number two, for laughing at my very non-funny jokes. Even laughing when I wasn't joking. So I'm going to gift you with what I think is the most instrumental, the most beautiful instrumental piece that I've ever heard and that I've ever tried to play. And then I'll finish that with a fun medley that doesn't belong with this song at all, but we're going to try to make it happen. See how that doesn't belong? Well, baby, I did all I can do. Can't get along with you. Gotta take you to your mama, lady. Lady, lady. Gotta take you to your mama, lady. Oh, that rabbit in a log can't get no rabbit dog. Lord, I hate to see that rabbit get away. Get away, get away. I hate to see that rabbit get away. Yeah, baby, I did all I can do. Can get along with you. Gotta take you to your mama, payday. Payday, payday. Gotta take you to your mama, payday. The hounds is on my track. Knapsack on my back, gotta make it to my shanty for the day. For the day, for the day. Gotta make it to my shanty for the day. Y'all have been so wonderful. Really appreciate you. And
Now, how many of you would have known those were house shoes had he not said they were?
Really? Are they that sporty?
Yeah.
Even though they fold in half
Right?
very easily?
But in today's world, I mean, they cover your feet.
They could be fashionable.
Yes, right.
So I should wear these more often, is what you're saying. My wife would disagree.
Yes. Thank you, folks, for coming out. This ends our show. Give Nick one more great round of applause.
Thank you.
Y'all will turn the lights on so our folks can see where they're going. Y'all be safe going home. Remember, we have shows every Friday night. Come back to see us. Thank you so much.